I'm Eric Baudelaire.
I'm Alvin Curran.
And this is our exhibition at Spike Island, When There's No More Music to Write.
Franco Evangelisti was a very well-known Roman composer. First he asked, "Are you a composer?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Well, don't you know there's no more music to write?" And I said, "No, I didn't know that." Thinking just as a young kid that there was endless music to write. In any case, it turns out that he was right.
We met in Rome in 2018.
Correct.
Through our common friend Maxime Guitton. One of the things that I've always been interested in is this sort of subterranean convergence, historical convergence between the artistic avant-garde and the political avant-garde in the 60s and 70s.
Absolutely. There's always been a connection.
And sometimes this connection is not a direct connection.
No.
But I think and it's difficult to be sort of precise and scientific about what these relationships are. But there's something that does connect this search for something new, for something different, for something dangerous also in both cases. And I think this is something that I found very interesting in learning to know Alvin and conducting the interviews with Alvin and Maxime, is this idea that there was also a danger in the musical experiments. Came about the idea that maybe could do some interviews of Alvin about this period of time, and these interviews grew into a much broader project. This is something that is, I mean, for me, over the past several films has been sort of a methodology that I've adopted, which is to do extensive interviews where I sort of learn about a process, learn about a period of history, learn about a person also. And so these are quite extensive, and it's an oral history project in a way. The three films that we're showing here at Spike Island are the result of this period of time where the form found its way forward. So one of the films, which is shown in the main space here, When There's No More Music to Write, is really constructed around the interviews we did with Alvin, and trying as much as possible with Claire Atherton, the editor that I've worked with on this film and several other films, to find a form for the film that is I would say in the spirit of what Alvin has talked about and what Alvin has done as a musician.
So Zabriskie Point was, I think, 1968, a film of Michelangelo Antonioni. Antonioni, for the music part, decided he wanted this radical, so-called radical electronic a bunch of mostly American hippies to record the tracks for the film. But at the same time, MGM insisted that the Pink Floyd also do a set of recordings in London. This recording that we had mixed in Antonioni's studio in Rome had gone lost, and I was sort of devastated for years, because we had this great music that we made, and it disappeared. With good fortune, Maxime, doing his work and with attention and dedication, found this tape and brought it to light. Remarkably, it's like a piece of history suddenly lost and then coming back to life again.
In the second screening room at Spike Island is the film called Four Flat Tires, a project that was related to the kidnapping and murder of Aldo Moro, and more specifically about a small story that I had heard about and I thought was an interesting sort of political and poetic moment of this very brutal period of Italian history. which is that on the morning that Prime Minister Aldo Moro was kidnapped by the Red Brigades, the flower vendor who normally set up his truck on the intersection where the kidnapping took place, he wasn't there that morning, and he wasn't there because when he went to pick up his truck and drive to work, he found out that all 4 tires of his truck had been slashed. It became clear to me that until the end of his life, he never knew what had happened to the tires of his truck, and only after he'd passed away in the early 2000s, one of the members of the Red Brigades who had organized the kidnapping and later on killing of Aldo Moro explained that he had sent one of his comrades to puncture the tires of the van. And I thought that this was an interesting little nugget of history, a moment of history where there's all this intent to save the life of a florist, and at the same time precipitating Italy into a period of tremendous violence and turmoil and state repression.
Something like this is just a part of a continuous evolution of my creating music, a music theater, so to speak. You begin to see the possibilities of taking a perfectly normal piano, which is something that we all think of as either belonging on a concert stage or in someone's living room or in a recording studio, but never flying in an art gallery, just about to go right through the roof itself. In music, our instrumentarium of traditional pianos and violins, oboes, bassoons, tubas, trombones, and so on, are all very well known. Less known and more important to some composers and sound artists like myself are the fact that simple, humble objects could be a valuable and interesting sound if used and struck or dropped or hit or rubbed or made to vibrate in a certain way. I came to realize, yes, there was in fact more music to write, but it wouldn't be notes on paper. It would be a mix of anything audible, anything that I could record, reproduce, reutilize, including found objects or any kind of space and object that could render and modify and reinforce sound.